Chicago, where the fire serve cold, but the Wolves and the Hawks never shiver in the snow. The Bulls keep it running, the Sox run the South, the Cubs run the North, but the Bears run the house. True Chicago sports fans got their ears to the street. Any team make a move and they never skip a beat. And in this house, this is where we be. Welcome to the show with E-Rock and Big Z.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 5 of TCSF, the podcast. As always, I'm Big Z, and I'm here with E-Rock. How have you been?
I'm good. You know, just living the dream. I want to give a shout-out to the All Net podcast, Mike Logic and Ideal. Shout-out to Shy Native Entertainment as well. You can catch their radio show every Tuesday night, 9 to 10 p.m., and check out Shine Native Entertainment on Facebook as well.
They're doing a killer job on all of these platforms.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I really love the last 2 episodes they came out with. Their comparison of basketball players to rappers. That was really, really dope. And yeah, they're killing it, man. I got to say. So let's start off with this. You know, we see that the national media does not like our Bears. Right now, Bill Barnwell came out with an article that says he ranks the Bears' weapons. And that's just weapons, no quarterback, no line.
So we're talking about receivers, we're talking about running backs,
Tight ends.
and tight ends. So our offensive weapons.
Correct. We are ranked number 28. What do you think about that?
I mean, offensive weapons? You're ranked, what, 28, 29? You're almost no better than the Jets.
Well, see, this is what you're looking at. You're looking at Allen Robinson and a supporting cast. You don't know what's going on with Miller with the shoulder. You don't know what's going on with all these rookies they brought in and receiver to surround him. You got Tariq Cohen, David Montgomery, and then your tight ends are Jimmy Graham and Cole Kmet, and I think they picked up another one, but they're probably ranked where they should be.
Yeah, I think they're spot on as far as offensive because they have to prove themselves. They really have to prove themselves. You got a question mark at quarterback. Mm-hmm. You have a question mark at tight end.
Yep.
Offensive line they found their groove towards the end of the season. A couple injuries here and there, but the offensive line did a decent job.
They did a decent job towards the end, but in the beginning they were definitely having problems. You had a lot of roster shuffles. You had a lot of line shuffles. So now that they kind of solidified themselves towards the end of the season, it did shore up a bit. But to be fair, when we're going through last season, you had Trubisky with the shoulder injury. You had, the little midget guy that should not be even playing in the NFL, and the Lions gave a bunch of money to for some reason. And now we have, BDN, who's going to come in there and maybe steal the show. I think he might end up being the starter. I think a lot of people are predicting that Nick Foles is going to be the starter over Trubisky.
But how is that going to work? If you don't have any preseason going on, how do you have a quarterback competition without any preseason? How's that going to work?
Well, because now you got to consider the fact that the coaches, every coach on that staff is familiar with Nick Foles. So without a competition, if you're going into the season with all this uncertainty, why wouldn't you go with the guy who's proven in the league?
I agree. I mean, you gave up draft capital. You gave up paid him a lot of money.
You paid him some money. I think, what did they give, the 4th round pick?
I mean, but look at
players that have come out of the 4th round.
Exactly. Yeah. Look what they picked in the 4th round. Pretty good players.
Yeah, I mean, you do. Here's the thing, and we talked about it before. This first round, the first round picks, 50% don't pan out. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you can kind of, at this point, we still have this prove it year, but you can kind of say Trubisky's in that boat right now. You look at the top 10, a lot of the rankings that came out recently were the top 10 Madden rankings.
Oh, my goodness.
And who did you see in there? You saw
not Trubisky.
You didn't see Trubisky. You saw your boy from KC. You saw your boy from Houston. You see your boy from Green Bay. You see all these
Baltimore.
Right. And, you're not going to see any Bears quarterbacks up there. So this is really going to be an interesting year. Now, when we talk about the national media, we know there's a lot of hate going on for us right now. This is from USA Today. They predict that the Bears will be 3-13. They say the schedule is brutal. The offensive weaponry supporting the unsettled quarterback position isn't a whole lot better. Barring another transcendent effort like the defense produced in 2018, more likely this franchise ends up cleaning house than returning to the postseason. Do you think that the Bears can make the playoffs this season?
There's no way they're going to be 3-13.
No?
That defense alone is going to get you 6 games. They're going to be able to control a game and keep it close enough Now, if you got Nick Foles there and you're going to have, more than a 3-yard pass, we got a chance. But we can't score 16, 17 points and expect to win and expect the defense to be out there the entire game, because that's what happens. The defense is out there the entire game. They get tired in the fourth quarter from holding these guys down, and then we get outscored. Well, if you got a quarterback that only puts up 15 points and some of that is from the kicker, you're not going to win many games. And that's what they're looking at. If you have the quarterback we had last year, you're not going to be good. Now, Nick Foles is going to be the unknown. Can he command this offense? Can he build chemistry quickly without a preseason?
I think he can build chemistry on the fly just because I feel like he's done it in other places. He's bounced around enough. I think he has that experience with different teams where he can say, okay, I know how to kind of find my groove, get in where I fit in and do my thing. But the coaches know him and know who he is. What they really need from him is to just not mess it up.
So the Kyle Orton strategy?
That you could call it that. You could call it that. And now the funny thing that you mentioned that is that I forget where I heard it, but recently there was something that came out about there were parts of the organization when the Bears did trade Orton for Cutler at the time. There was parts of the organization that were not too keen on the move because they felt like Orton was doing a good enough job to get them where they needed to go.
I was one of those guys too.
And
I was a Kyle Orton fan. That was my guy.
And you know that I'm a Cutler guy.
I know.
I'm a Cutler guy.
I know.
Now, to be fair, we just set up my basement as a brand new studio,
yes,
right?
a new studio. It's awesome here, dude. Everything's from any type of sport is up on the wall. There's bobbleheads, tons of books. So if you want to read a book, let us know. We got tons of books here. We got every team. I have to bring a little bit of White Sox stuff here to balance stuff out because Eddie's a Cup fan.
But as you walk into this room,
yes, sir.
What do I got on that wall? It's a giant Kyle Orton autographed picture. Okay. Now, I remember I had my own encounter with Kyle Orton. I saw him. It was his rookie season, I believe. I used to work at Soldier Field for a season.
Okay.
And there was I worked for a company that was selling memorabilia. It was silent auctions.
Oh, okay.
So I had me and my boy were working at the thing. We're throwing this like $350 football that was autographed back and forth. And I was like, yo, don't drop it and don't scrape it, right? But this is a game I want to say was in either 05 or 06 when the Bears were playing against Atlanta. And it was so cold that the ink in our pens was freezing. We couldn't write with them, okay? And this is I think this is when Rex had just come back from injury, but they didn't start him.
Okay.
They pull Orton and they put Rex in the game, and we win because this is when Vic was on the Falcons.
Mm-hmm.
And Kyle Orton threw for 12 yards that day. Okay, 12 yards. And I'm going to tell you the reason why I remember that. So once everything's said and done, me and my boy go to this bar. I think it was it was called Level at the time. I don't know what it is now. This is a long time ago, man.
Yeah.
Let's
start to age yourself there.
Yeah, well, when you start balding and you get the grades, you know this is a long time ago. But I remember walking in there, we're hanging out. I think George Daniels was there, and we're chilling. And all of a sudden, I see Nick Beard come in, and I'm like, yo. And I've been drinking.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I see, hey, man, it's Kyle Orton right there.
Yeah.
So I go up to him, and I'm like, hey, man, don't worry about it. All you got to do is elbow Rex in the ribs. He'll be out for another 6 weeks. He goes, oh, well, I'm not worried about that. I was like, mm-mm. So what you mean you're not worried about that? So I literally walked up to a group of girls. I was like, hey, you know who that is? They're like, no. I was like, that's Kyle Orton. He threw for 12 yards today, and he got beat red, got up and walked out the club.
that was how do I keep this PG?
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean? So I definitely picked on the kid when I saw him in person, but he was definitely a game manager. I feel like he was a guy that could have lasted a lot longer in the league. But again, I mean, I wasn't mad when they got Cuddy. But going back to Foles, that's kind of what they need. They just need a guy that's not going to mess it up for the defense, which you had Grossman do, which you had Cutler do at times. That's really what they need out of Foles. They just need a guy who's not going to mess it up.
All right, so I got the schedule up here. Let's go really quickly, game by game, because 3 wins is absurd.
It seems too low.
All right, we got the Detroit Lions. Is that a win or a loss?
It's a here or away.
It's at Ford Field.
Okay. I think they can beat the Lions twice, but I also think that people underestimate
Stafford. Stafford's a beast.
Stafford. Put Stafford on any other team. I mean, he's a monster. But don't forget, he's had a back injury.
Yeah, he has a back injury.
Your boy Chase Daniels up there too. So if for some reason,
making more money than a lot of quarterbacks.
Exactly. A lot of stuff. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these young starters, he's making more. So if Stafford can't play, I mean, I think we got that in the bag. But either way, I think we can beat them.
How about the Giants? That's at home.
So we got the Giants here. Again, that's a winnable game. Are they going to win it? I don't know, but it's a winnable game. You got Daniel Jones, young guy, but you also got Saquon. Saquon's a tricky player. But again, it's another winnable game.
Falcons.
Again, you can call it.
These are all 50-50 games so far.
They're all, 50-50. It could swing either way. So far, you haven't given me one game where I'm like, well, there's no way we can win that.
Okay. The Colts, home.
Here?
Home. Colts at home. They got that new quarterback, from San Diego, that old man.
They got the new old quarterback. They got Phillip Rivers, old self out there. You hit him and you see dust come out of him. So, I mean, again, he's a brand new team, brand new system for him. I like our chances.
Tampa Bay at home.
Now, this is the marquee game of the season. I don't care if they end up playing the Packers like 8 times this year. This is the game that you really want to see. I mean, you got a lot of stuff going on there. I much more believe in this new old quarterback than I did for the one in that previous game we just mentioned. You know what I mean? I am not a Tom Brady fan just because I felt like he was arrogant. I didn't like all the cheating scandals and all that stuff.
Okay.
But I'll tell you what, I'm excited to see what he's gonna do in the NFC South, in a division with Drew Brees,
right?
And see exactly what's gonna happen there. So, is it winnable? I'm sure, but I don't think the Bears ever beat Tom Brady, ever.
He's got a lot of weapons. He's got a lot of offensive weapons over there.
That's the thing.
And we got a good defense, so that should be a good matchup. The Panthers, this is at Carolina.
Who is their quarterback?
The backup, Bridgewater.
That's right. So they got Bridgewater. Look, again, it's one of these games. When Bridgewater was with the Saints, you could see that's a well-oiled machine. You could see
he fit into the system, but I don't think he was an elite quarterback.
I don't think he was an elite quarterback either. But there are certain teams around this league where you know that every single time they step on the field, they got a chance to win. And ever since Drew Brees was in New Orleans, that's a team where you feel confident just because the culture he brought, the culture that Sean Payton brought to the Saints, that's a team where every time they step onto the field, you know that you feel like they got a chance to win. There's not a lot of teams like that. You got the Saints, you got the Patriots, you got the Packers, I'll say that. And those are 3 teams where I'm like, there's never a time where I'm like, oh, you guys are outmatched. So that's a toss-up.
We got a bunch of 50-50 games. A couple more. We got the Rams, the Saints, the Titans, and the Vikings, and then we get to a bye. So the Rams, again, that's another 50-50 game, and it's in Inglewood, California, at their stadium, at the new SoFi Stadium. The Saints, I think that's a game that's like we can win if the defense can,
That's the game you're going to circle and say that could be the one where I'm saying, well, that's going to be a really, really tough game to win just because Breeze. I mean, that's
it's at home. X-factor. It's at home. He doesn't do well here.
That may be so, but we're also talking about that far into the season, who's even going to be playing quarterback. We still have a ton of offensive
question marks, right?
Just like Bill Barnwell said. So,
all right, the Titans, again, everybody always overlooks the Titans. They made a good run last season. They got past the first round.
Don't forget, you got to somehow tackle Derrick Henry. And you want to talk about a man that's a full-grown man right there, okay?
Vikings, I think that's a winnable game.
So every division foe is always going to be a toss-up game.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And then we finished the back half of the schedule with Green Bay, Detroit, the Texans, the Vikings, the Jaguars, and the Packers. That's going to be heavy.
It is, but
we got 1, 2, 3, 4 division games. I mean,
that's the whole division right there.
Right.
That's
if you don't win those games, you're done.
That's the whole swing of the division right there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I think what we're going to see this year is more of what we saw last year. What we saw last year was that, an 8-8 season that felt like a 5-win season. That's going to be the problem. I think you're looking at a 500 team unless somehow your offensive starters just step up, unless Cole Kmet ends up being a stud. I mean, we got Jimmy Graham, which is, a snooze fest. We're not talking about New Orleans, Jimmy Graham. We're talking about Chicago Bears version of Jimmy Graham, which is just an old
I
dude.
think he's just there to coach, man. I just think he's there to coach.
Well, like I said before, the reason they brought him in, I think, was to have somebody there, see if they could bring that magic. The fact that he was with Ryan Pace, he had a soft spot for him. So hopefully he can, we were talking about coaching. Hopefully he's a guy that can boost up Cole Kmet and bring him, be like, hey, this is how you do it, kid. But, sometimes these players want no part of that. So we'll see.
All right, everybody, we're going to be taking a quick break. When we come back, we'll dive into some MLB. We'll be right back. Hey, guys, welcome back to True Chicago Sports Fans, a podcast. So Anthony Rizzo has back problems again. Let's take a listen to this clip here from manager David Ross from the Chicago Cubs.
He came in yesterday just to get, felt a little stiffness in some similar areas that he's been sore before and just getting ahead of it. When we have this time, we had a light day yesterday with just the 2.5 innings, and then a really light day of just live BP today. So he's day to day, but I just want to make sure at this time in the schedule that we use caution.
What do you think about that clip?
So the thing is that Rizzo has always had back problems, but the real issue is when you're looking at a 60-game season, how is that going to affect him? He can say that he's only going to be out for a couple weeks or so, but, you've had issues.
Yeah. I got 2 herniated discs.
The thing is that the MRI came out and it confirmed that his back spasms this week are stemming from rib inflammation on his left side. The ribs are so important to the torque of your bat.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he's going to continue to swing. And he's a really crucial part of this team when you're talking about offense. From when I was looking at the potential lineup, he would be the one protecting Bryant. So you're going to have a lot of roster shuffling that you're going to see, which we all kind of got sick of with Joe Madden. And I think Rossi's going to have to deal with that again because I don't think Rizzo's going to be able to make it as much as he wants.
Yeah, it's a tough break because he's your captain. He's your leader. He's the rock at first base.
He's really the first guy that they brought in to be the anchor of the team. I mean, he was on the team when they were just hot garbage, and he was one of the only guys. I mean,
he was the first move when they came over from Boston. Jed Hoyer
and they loved him so much. Jason McLeod, Jed Hoyer, Theo. They loved him so much that they brought him from Boston to San Diego and now over to Chicago. So They love this kid, but now he's getting a little bit older, and are we going to keep wanting to pay for a guy?
The MLB doesn't pay older players that well.
Well, it's not even that.
And is injury prone.
Correct.
So,
and it's not just any injury, you know what I mean?
It's ribs and back.
It's ribs and back injury.
Sounds like Prince Fielder.
That's a shame. That's one guy where, I remember when it was either him or Pujols, and you had Cubs fans that couldn't figure out if they want one or the other. Well, they didn't get either. Pujols went over to the Angels, Prince went over to the Rangers, and it just never really worked out for
either team. Yeah, for either team.
Well, I mean, there was no way it was going to work out for the Angels. I mean, they gave him this crazy contract on
for
the
10 years,
wrong side of 30. So, I mean, it's one of those things like, what do you do with a player like that, knowing, number one, like I said, he's the rock of the team. He's the guy that's been there forever. He was, along with Lester, the big kind of players that they got in moving around. I'm not saying what I want to say, but he's one of the guys that they brought over to be the standard, the guy that leads.
He was a foundation for the team, and that's what said, okay, this is the ship. He's going to be our captain. Everybody get in line, follow suit. Now, your problem with his injury, him being 30, he's got about 2 years left on his contract. It looks a lot like what we had on the south side with Joe Creedy. This kid who's amazing at third base defensively, offensively, nowhere near what Rizzo was, but
Rizzo's the better player.
Oh, definitely. But I'm talking about it's being comparison. You have 2 good players. You're at the hot corners, good bats, great defensively, bad backs.
Right. And that's a scary thing. I don't care what the sport is. That's a scary thing to have. I mean, just as a regular citizen who doesn't play sports, I mean, that's a scary thing. I mean, you get up the wrong way. How many times it's like, oh, I threw my back out and I can't breathe.
That happens to me. I have 2 herniated discs, and if I wake up in the wrong position or if I slept wrong, whatever it may be, I have to call off work and let's say my back's locked up. I can't move.
And now imagine that being the case, and you're expected to go out there and stretch and catch and swing a bat and hit home runs and do all the things that they're expected to do. So I think that's going to be a really big question mark for the Cubs going forward. Once his contract is up, what do you do with Rizzo?
I'm sorry. I think they trade him this offseason. They trade him this off
season
because he's got 1 year left. Let's say he does play and he does produce, he's gone. There's no reason the Cubs should, especially since they're not paying any free agents. They haven't signed anybody this year of notoriety.
No.
And they're saying they're financially struggling. I'm sorry, I don't believe you.
So then who are you going to have come in and play first base next season then?
Bodie. Or move Bryant to first. Bodie at third.
I don't see how Bryant's going to be here after this season. I think
because we got to move one piece at a time, and unless they're moving everybody.
Because you got to remember, you're looking at who you're going to pay right now. You got Bryant, you got Javi. You got to pay one of those guys. And I think that the player that they're going to pay is going to be Javi.
Right.
I think just, even if you look at sheer popularity, everyone thought Bryant was going to be the guy, and then Javi ended up being that guy. So, I mean, you look at him defensively, he's that star maker. Javi's the player that, he can be here for another like 5 to 7 years. The Cubs could be terrible, and people are coming to go see Javi Baez.
Is he the new Sammy Sosa in popularity?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Like, you look at anyone else on that team, who is more popular than Javi right now? You look at, and you're also talking about a city who has one of the largest Puerto Rican populations in the nation, next to New York and actual Puerto Rico. So I mean, like, people are going to keep showing up to the ballpark just to see Javi, even when Rizzo's gone, Lester's gone, Bryant's gone. And that's just what it's going to be.
All right, so let's transition over to these schedules because baseball starts next week.
Yeah,
we got the Cubs opening versus the Brewers at home.
This is going to be an interesting season no matter what happens. I honestly, I don't know what to think of any of these teams because this is one of those things where you can get hot, you can fire on all cylinders right away, and you can fizzle out like they did last year. They went 2-8 to finish the season last year, and they let the Cardinals and Brewers get ahead of them and take that division away from them. So, I really think that for a lot of players on this team, this might be the last stand. You got guys like Almora. You got Bryant, of course. There's always been rumors around about Contreras. Let's see what Lester's going to do. I mean, you're looking at bits and pieces of that championship team, and we don't know how strong they're going to be going forward or how many of these guys are even going to be left going into next season. Schwarber's a question mark?
So, yeah, Schwarber is a question mark, but if they're going to keep the DH, you're probably going to keep Schwarber. You got Contreras, you've got Darvish, you got some good blocks to transition into this new team that's going to start. Yeah, you got Javi. That's going to be your next cornerstone.
And you know what's going to happen is that Javi's going to end up being your. He's always going to be at second, I think, because once they get Ed Howard, to come up to the bigs. Yeah. Javi's going to be your second baseman.
Well, he'll be a little bit older, so yeah, it makes sense to move him to second.
But now you're looking at the rest of the infield. Who's going to play third? Who's going to play first? If we're looking at Rizzo being on, if we're looking at Bryant being on, who's going to play the rest of that infield? So now, are you looking at free agents? Are you looking at who you have in the minors? Are you looking at, especially for first base, someone you can just throw over there?
And there wasn't a huge draft class because that got cut down this year.
Correct. So there's not even that many players out there. So this is. I have a feeling that after the shortened season, we're going to be looking at somewhat of a rebuilding year. You're going to look at, they're going to have to start signing free agents because you look at the last couple moves that they've made. You look at bringing in Kimbrel. That's a desperation move. That's a desperation move that they had after last year, or in the middle of last year. And then you're looking at someone like Schwarber. I mean, I'm really interested in seeing how this DH in the NL is going to happen or how it's going to work, because we've been sitting here for 5 years saying that Schwarber is a natural DH.
Yeah.
So do you keep him for that reason? Because for years everyone was like, well, trade him to the AL because that's where he needs to be. And he's a terrible fielder.
He is. I mean, he's working on it. He's getting a little bit better, but his highest trading value was right after the World Series.
Oh, 100%.
And that's when that move should have been made.
Well, yes.
I understand he's a fan favorite.
Well, he was a hero at that time.
Yeah, but putting all that to the side, let's be realistic. It's a business, and if your business is winning championships, and this guy has the highest trading potential, he's a big chip, and I can get this, and this. I'm sorry, bro, you gotta go because I'm gonna get 4 players that are gonna be way better than you.
I don't disagree with that, but when your business was winning a championship in 108 years,
and that's where you're at, a championship, right?
You can't, in the Cubs' eyes, send off the guy with that much lore and history and dropping home run balls on the top of the marquee and all that thing. There was no way that was going to happen. At the same time, you got to remember in that 16th season, he did not play that much. He played very early.
Yeah, because he blew out his knee.
Correct.
I remember that.
Because of the collision.
Mm-hmm.
So when he did come back, I mean, they're like, well, look at this kid. I mean, he's going to be great. And we haven't seen that all come to fruition. He's one of these guys that's super streaky once he goes into his home run mode. He can smack him out of the ballpark.
Oh, yeah. If he gets hot, he's hot.
But at the same time, he also has a lot of slumps. He's swinging the bat. It looks like a wet noodle out there. And, I'm just waiting one day for him to go back for a fly ball and see it whack him over the brain. It's going to happen one of these days.
He's going to pull a Canseco?
Well, I mean, I don't want it to happen being a diehard, but I mean, it's one of those things where, it ended up on a sports blooper YouTube reel for many years to come.
That Canseco clip plays all the time. All the time.
In the not top 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we're staying on the Cubs right now. Let's talk about a little bit about the Marquee Network issue. Right now, it looks like it's on YouTube TV and I think it's on DirecTV and
DirecTV. I think Hulu Live has it.
Hulu Live might have it. Okay, and
YouTube. And let me tell you,
was the Dish might have it too?
I'm not. Look, it does. I don't care who has it. What I do care, I care who doesn't have it right now,
which is Comcast.
And that's Comcast. And when you're sitting here talking about the fact that I want to say it was the last year or last 2 years when you finally brought your team to not only one free channel, which was GN forever, and then you brought it to ABC, which was great because I could catch the ABC broadcast off of my phone.
Okay.
And then you're talking about for years you relied on Comcast Sportsnet and now NBC Sports Channel or whatever they want to call it. All these years that you've provided access to your games. And now I get the fact that we haven't been playing any games for the past couple of months.
Yep.
So you had no real reason to make a contract with Comcast.
No, there was no urgency because everybody's like, we don't know when we're going to play. So why are we going to sign a contract?
Well, yeah, exactly. Why am I going to pay you for this content, or why am I going to pay you to show your channel for a couple months when
no one's going to watch it?
There's no games.
No one's going to watch the channel. Now,
I've seen clips of what they're showing on Marquee on YouTube. You have there's a show called 162. The first episode, I think, was Nico Horner showing him at the Cubs convention, and when Rossi signed his contract to become the manager, and he was up there talking about where I'm going to stand in the dugout or sit in the dugout as a manager, and things like that. And that was extremely interesting.
And they signed some former Cubs to be on the channel. I think Dempster's one of those.
Dempster is there. I think Gracie's there because if I'm not mistaken, Gracie was there calling games with Len and JD. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he was there. At least it was for the spring training. But this is what I'll say. And Theo just said that I'm pretty confident that everyone will have access to it. But you know what's going to happen if I can't watch Cubs games on Comcast?
What's going to happen?
Guess what I'm going to watch?
Sox games?
I sure the hell am. I'm going to watch a lot of Sox games. And that's just what it is because I like baseball. I'm interested in what's going to happen. I'm interested in sports. I've been deprived for the past 4 months, 5 months, whatever it's been. So if you're not going to give me my favorite team, well, guess what? I'm going to watch what's available. And pretty soon what you're going to have is you're going to have a lot of Cubs fans. They're going to, especially young Cubs fans who only started watching baseball within the past 10 years. You're going to get a lot of these fans who feel alienated because you cannot give me the team that I want to watch. So guess what? I'm going to find a new team to watch. And I'm going to, you'll keep your Cubs championship memorabilia, but I'm going to start collecting Sox gear too. And they say, well, you can't be a fan of both. Well, guess what? Once you abandon me, I abandon you. And that's how it's going to work.
All right, folks, we're going to take a pause for the cause. And we'll be right back with more TCSF, the podcast with E-Rock and Big Z. Hey, guys, welcome back. Let's talk White Sox baseball.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. He's excited. I like it. All right, so let's talk about a little bit about the White Sox. We're going to start on the same day as the Cubs. We're going to play the AL Central champs, the Twins. That's going to be a tough series.
Yep. I mean, we're talking about if you go across all of the AL, every team that won the division last year had over 100 wins. So it's going to be tough for any team that's playing against AL teams, especially considering the fact now we got the combo AL and NL Central, and we're just going to be beating each other up all year. But to open up the season against the champ, that's going to be tough, man.
That's going to really put us to the test. Are you guys going to be putting up or shutting up?
It depends on what the young guys do.
Yeah,
it depends on what the young guys do.
Again, here we go with the same question marks on all of our sports teams. What are these young guys going to do? Are they going to perform? Are they going to show up? Well, you know what? It's that time. This is the year that the White Sox designated. This is the year we're going to do something. Well, now you got to produce. Now we got a pitcher out.
That's your boy Kopech. That's your boy Kopech.
Yeah.
Now, he opted out.
He did.
And his reasoning was, I don't know. So I think more than anything, you had Don Cooper come out and be like, well, this guy has anxiety issues. I hope the kid's okay. But here's the thing. As a pitching coach, don't put that business out there. Just say, like, hey, the whole point of this entire thing of giving players the option to opt out of the season.
No questions asked.
No questions, no judgment. Hey, I get it. You don't want to be here. You're not comfortable. That's what it is. So Coop had no business being out there putting his kid's business about him having anxiety, him battling depression, because all you're doing now is you're putting a stigma and mental health.
And that was already out there. Like, why rehash it? Why bring it up?
Why bring that? Why focus on that?
Yeah.
We can kind of tell, number one, the kid was hurt. Okay, he's probably not ready to come back. Okay, number two, think about all that pressure that you're going to be putting on yourself to come back. And now if you already have anxiety and depression or whatever it is that's going on, you might not even be ready yet.
No, we don't know if he's ready physically. They say that he's ready to go. That we've seen his workout videos and pitching at home right before the season started. He looked good and all this stuff. But if he's not ready mentally, he's not going to be ready physically.
So now here's the thing, though. You got to think about another former Jerry Reinsdorf product, and that's Mr. Derrick Rose, right? Because he was injured, and he's supposed to be ready to go, healthy, cleared by the doctors. I'm not ready.
Well, let's be honest. I know I didn't trust the doctors that the Bulls had at that point because they messed up Dang.
Yeah.
And they messed up some other. Yeah, they gave the spinal tap. Yep. So I don't have a lot of trust in the Bulls organization as far as their doctors. I know for the White Sox, and then I'm pretty sure it's the same thing because the Bulls and the White Sox have the same doctors. And I know this personally because they're my doctors. They've worked on my hip, they've worked on my hands, and so forth.
So if we're talking about young guys,
yes,
where's your boy Yoan Moncada? Where's he at?
He is on the newly changed name, the IL. It's no longer the DL. Can't say that no more. Now it's the IL. He's been placed on a 10-day IL. I really think that he has the COVID. I mean, I think he's one of those players that they said, hey, he has COVID. He's going to be out for a while, and they're not going to confirm it.
See, the interesting thing with all the COVID that's going on, all the COVID confirmed and not confirmed cases is you wonder, and I think you have to disclose this as the individual, but there are HIPAA laws.
Yes, they are.
So you have to disclose it as an individual. Now, we know for a fact that as far as MLB is concerned, you have Freddie Freeman, Cole Calhoun, Delano DeShields, Charlie Blackmon, Salvador Perez, Luis Urias, Miguel Sano, DJ LeMahieu, Aroldis Chapman, Scott Kingery, Tommy Pham, and Joey Gallo, who have all had confirmed cases of COVID. Now, in Gallo's case, he's actually confirmed a couple of different times where they thought he was going to be okay, and he came out to test positive again.
Oh, wow. So he's probably reintroducing himself to the same atmosphere, or doing the same thing that he was doing, not being careful about who he's interacting with and where.
Or it's just lingering. I mean, it's one of those things we don't have enough information about it yet.
Yeah, this is all new to us.
And what we're looking at too is you got the NBA people in the bubble as well, the NBA players with the NBA players who have confirmed cases. You got Russ, okay. You got Durant. You got Donovan Mitchell, Nikola Jokic, Malcolm Brogdon, Jabari Parker, DeAndre Jordan, Harrison Barnes, Michael Beasley, who literally just showed up, and they're like, "Nope, you got it, go home." He literally showed up. They took his temp. They're like, gave him a test, sent him packing, and he just signed with the Nets. Spencer Dinwiddie for the Nets as well, and he was one of these guys that the Bulls had early, and they just decided not to go. But the one that we all know and we all remember is your boy Rudy Gobert.
That is not my boy, but that dude is a clown. I've been saying this since day one. He's a clown.
So he also just came out. So we know that the NBA has the snitch line or the tip line or whatever you want to call it, right? So now Gobert, who when this thing first hit, made a mockery of it.
Yeah, he touched all of the mics.
Everything.
For every reporter, touched all the mics after he finished his interview and thought it was a big joke and it was funny.
Correct. And he just thought this is no big deal.
And then what happened the next day?
And then he was confirmed, and then Mitchell got it, probably from him.
Yes.
And he just came out and says, "No, don't use that snitch line. That's not what this is about." Hold up, Mr. Gobert. What are you talking about? Like, you're what is your end game here? What is your goal in this? There's a reason why we're all trying to make sure that we stay healthy, make sure that we stay safe. You can talk about the percentage of people that get sick, the percentage of people that die, but there's real life implications here.
Yes, there is.
And your job is to play a game. So I don't want to hear nothing about like, don't snitch, don't do this, don't do that, because the fact of the matter remains is that what you're doing is, when you put someone else at risk, you could shut down the entire operation, cost the entire operation millions of dollars. Your teammates, your peers, all this stuff. You're costing people money by not being safe.
Money and health. Most importantly, someone else's health.
100%. So
what if he gives it to his coach?
That's true, and because you got a lot of these older coaches.
Exactly. All these older coaches like Alvin Gentry and
correct.
All the older coaches.
I mean, Tibbs.
They're trying to like, well, do I do it or do I not do it?
Right.
I'm like 65. I'm almost 70. If I get it, it's going to hit me hard.
Correct.
They don't have the immune system that these younger guys do that are working out all the time. They have all their nutrition and all this. No, it's not safe for them. So for Rudy Gobert to be like, don't use the snitch line. And first of all, you're the reason we're in this predicament with the NBA. Mm-hmm. Like, we have to create a bubble.
You got it from somewhere.
And now you guys are not going to respect the bubble. It's there to protect you.
Well, and then the thing is, too, is that, we know that the older folks are more susceptible to being more dangerous to them. But you take a look at someone like Freddie Freeman from the Braves.
Yes.
Freddie Freeman has had it. He's a big, strong guy. I mean, this is a beast. And he's to the point where he's having severe breathing issues where he can't speak properly, chest pains,
loss of taste, loss of smell,
all this stuff. So I mean, like, this isn't just something that could affect older folks. Younger folks are getting messed up from this too.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, this ain't no joke. You know what I mean? So when we look at, as far as MLB, these are the players that have opted out. Mm-hmm. Your boy Kopech.
Yep.
You got King Felix, Nick Markakis, David Price.
That's a big one for me.
That's a big one.
Because I'm also a Dodger fan.
Buster Posey.
He's at the end of his career.
Okay, but still, that's a big name.
It is a big name.
That's a big name. Wellington Castillo.
Yeah, former Sox.
Okay, former Cub.
Yeah.
Ryan Zimmerman, older guy.
Yeah.
And Ian Desmond. Okay, so when we look at the spectrum of things, we still got these guys getting on planes, moving around. Maybe
yes, sir.
Not as much as they would have normally been doing in a regular season, but they are still moving around a lot more than the NHL bubble is, and the NBA bubble is. Now, we look at NBA. You're looking at Trevor Ariza, Avery Bradley, Willie Cauley-Stein, Wilson Chandler, DeMarcus Cousins, who doesn't even have a team right now.
That's right. He's still unsigned.
DeAndre Jordan, Victor Oladipo, Tabo, your boy Tabo Cephalusha,
Love me some Tabo.
and Spencer Dinwiddie, who have all opted out. Okay? Now, we know Dinwiddie already had a confirmed case. Oladipo was still recovering from, I think he had a knee injury from before. I think I'm not sure if he played yet this season. I didn't follow the Pacers like that. But so, I mean, it is affecting all the sports right now. And when you look at NHL and NFL, there are multiple cases that were confirmed, but they don't disclose it. And NFL is not going to disclose them right now because they ain't playing right now.
And there's no reason to put it out bad press for them.
Correct.
So they're like, first of all, we're trying to figure out if we're going to play, when we're going to play, and how we're going to do it. And then you got the NHL, who has always been vague when it comes to injuries.
Like,
upper body, lower body injury.
Correct.
Like
A concussion is an upper body injury.
Yes.
A concussion is a concussion, man.
Yeah.
I mean, look.
Speaking of the NHL, where's your boy at? They just sent him back home.
What are you talking about? Crow?
The other Crow.
Man, I don't know about this guy. They just Colleton said that he's unfit for play.
Right.
Look, you just got rid of Leonard, Leonard or whatever his name is. Send him over to Vegas. Okay, I'll be excited if the Hawks can get past the Oilers, but
Doesn't look good now.
not if you unless you get one of these young guys. I think PK Subban's little brother is on the Hawks, and I think he was the one they brought back in that trade. I don't even remember this kid's first name. That's how like vague he is to me. But they brought him over, and I think that's who they got back in that trade. And unless you get one of these young guys that's going to stand on his head, I don't know. I don't see that's going to happen.
Yeah, consider that series wrap.
You know, which is a shame. Because even you got Shazi right now. Shazi can't play either because he's still messed up. You know what I mean? So it's a shame. It's just like what we're seeing with the Cubs. You're seeing these guys slowly but surely fall off. You're seeing the same thing with the Hawks when you get kind of some of these remaining members of their championship teams where they're falling off. And, you know, once we fall in love with these players, it's sad to see them go, and it's sad to see them go through these injuries. I mean, you look what happened with Bickle, and you know, he's all messed up. You know what I mean?
God,
So,
yeah.
and he was a good dude. And they clowned him when he first started having those symptoms. They thought it was vertigo. But I mean, you know, it's a shame. So one thing that they're doing in NFL, which is a tradition, is they're no longer allowing jersey swaps after the game.
Hold on. So you have offensive linemen, defensive linemen who are touching each other every play, sweating on each other, probably spitting on each other.
Oh, you used to see old school.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like somebody's
get a handful of candy down there, you know.
Yeah, exactly. But let's not switch jerseys.
Well, look, I mean, it's a cool tradition.
I love the
when you see like
tradition.
Mahomes and Jackson switch jerseys and stuff like that. But look, I mean, if they're doing it in the name of safety and health, then
I get that.
I get it. You're gonna have people that say it's going too far. Everything's going too far. Well, guess what? I mean, if it's going to keep you healthy, keep your family healthy, keep your coaches who are older healthy, you know, keep the league able to keep going, because what's going to happen is you are going to get cases that pop up in the NBA bubble and in the MLB and in the NFL. And what's going to happen is that let's say what happens if you get 3 members of your offensive line come down with it and they got to be quarantined for 2 weeks. And that means that no practice, that means no games, no nothing.
Right.
So what happens then?
You better have a good practice squad.
You know, and it's not that. It's not only that, but you look at MLB, what's going to happen with them when you start, because they're going to start dropping like flies. Then they boost up their taxi squad to like 60 players or some crazy number like that.
You got to. I mean, when you got 26 players on your roster in a couple weeks, right? I mean, after the first week, it drops down to about 26. You've got to have backups.
I mean, you don't really have any choice, because you're going to have these injuries. You're going to have soft tissue injuries. How many times do we see with baseball? Not as much, but you do see it in football. That first week of football, you see at least 3 dudes have an ACL. You know what I mean? So, or someone breaks the shoulder or breaks the collarbone or something like that. So it's going to happen. You know, so you got to have all these backups. But what's going to happen when you get someone that has COVID and they're playing professional sports? Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you think it's worth it?
Do I think it's worth it? Here it is. If I was in that position, let's say I'm an MLB player, if I'm starting my career and I'm young and I have no attachments, when I mean no attachment is I don't have a wife, I don't have kids, nothing to risk. all I got to do is quarantine and worry about myself, I'm all for it because I'm at the beginning of my career and I want to make this money. Now, like you said, like Ryan Zimmerman and David Price, I've already made my money. Now I got a family to look out for. It ain't just me. Okay, financially, I'm set. I really don't need to play. So it just depends on what part of your life you're in. So if I'm at the beginning where I'm trying to make my money, trying to make my name, trying to build my brand, and I got nothing to risk besides myself, I'm all for it. I'm in. But if I'm at the other end, the tail end,
it just depends on where you are in your life.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too, is like, for example, like I have a daughter that plays sports and I coach softball, and we're just kind of coming back around to softball after being gone for 4 months. And I'll say I lost at least half of my squad. So we're just doing patchwork practices and things like that. I had parents who says, I'm not coming back. I'm not risking it. And this is for children who we know there's a lot less cases with children. Even in the beginning, they're like, well, kids would get it, and they weren't even they weren't being harmed that badly.
Right.
By what was going on. But I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing, is that you got to look at where you are in your life, look at what kind of risk you're going to take. Now, here's the thing. The thing too is that, especially when it comes to baseball, you're going to have a lot of kids that are going to come up because someone that's ahead of them either opted out or got hurt or got the COVID, and next thing you know, they're going to take over.
I think, that's going to happen. Kind of like how Brady came in during an injury and never let go of that position, right? I think with baseball, it's a tricky situation. One, baseball has the minor leagues to go reach down. Hey, our third base base's out. Let's pull up the kid from Double-A, see what he can do for a couple weeks until this guy comes back.
But guess what they don't have this year?
There is no minor leagues.
Not at all. Not at all.
So all you got is your taxi squad, which is a mishmash of everything. And then now you're signing free agents that other teams let go, and you're putting them on your team to see if they can make it. If not, you're going to put them on a taxi squad. Some of the baseball had about, I think 3 or 4 rounds of drafting.
It wasn't very many.
Yeah, usually they have 50 rounds.
Yeah,
they have 27 rounds. It's ridiculous. Yeah. So now you got these young kids that you just drafted. You put them on your taxi squad because you're like, you know what? You put him in for a couple games, see what he can do. It's not going to harm him. You're not going to take his service time away. Throw him in there for a couple games. Put him back on a taxi squad.
We might see Ed Howard quicker than we thought we were going to.
I'm sorry. I'm excited. I know. I'm excited.
He's a young kid. Because he was on the Jackie Robinson squad.
Yes, he was.
He was on the Jackie Robinson squad that won, and then they took the title away because they said residency restrictions. And then they eventually a couple years later came back. It was like, actually, y'all were cool, and we're like, it's an all squad of young black kids.
Yep.
First time that ever happened, inner city.
Just dragged their name in the mud.
Dragged them all the way through. But hey, I'm excited they got the kid. It's going to be definitely interesting to see what happens. I mean, I'll tell you what, you listeners out there are going to get real sick of us, because as soon as these sports really start ramping up, we're going to be watching 4 and 5 and 6 games a day. A day, because that's all it's going to be.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Again, this is all based on the fact that we might or might not get the Marquee Network.
Oh, my God.
So guess what?
Man, come to the dark side, bro. Come to the dark side.
Man. And they told once upon a time, someone told me good guys wear black.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, the guy's voice who I kept hearing that out of, I can't stand. Is what do they call him? The
hawk,
the old eagle, the old crow who never shuts up. But yeah, I mean, like I said before, there's a good chance that I will be watching some White Sox baseball this year coming up.
So baseball again. I know we're jumping around from topic to topic, and right now we're just. We're excited that sports are coming back this week. That's really what it is. That's why we're jumping back and forth. But as a kid, I remember watching the Cubs on WGN because that was the only place you can watch sports on. And it was the Cubs.
Just coming home.
Yeah.
It was like coming home and watching cartoons. You turn on the TV, guess what's on?
The Cubs.
Right.
Because, they start at 1:20. By the time we get home at 2:30 or 3:30, whenever you got off, there's still a game going on. And I was excited. I grew up watching that.
And we're talking about the old analog channels. We had 2, 5, 7, 9, 32, 50, 66. You know what I mean? That's
Kung Fu 66, baby.
And that's what it was. You know what I mean? That's what it was back in the day. So when you come home and that's the first thing that comes on the TV when you flip it on. I mean, that's why there's so many people that are Cubs fans. Yeah. Now, I'm gonna tell you something real funny.
Sure.
Are they still gonna play Go Cubs Go after the Cubs games? Think about this. Are they still gonna play Go Cubs Go when the Cubs win?
Why not?
because one of them lyrics in this song.
Hey, Chicago, what do you say? No one's there to say anything.
But not just that. Catch it all on
WGN.
WGN.
Yes. And this is the Sox fan knowing that Cubs song. Jesus.
Right.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but so that's what I'm saying. It's like, how can you keep listening? Can you still play that song? I mean, you're going to call Steve Goodman and be like, hey, I need a new cut of this song.
Yeah, you need to bleep it out. What were they going to do?
I don't know. But, and then when they show Harry on the scoreboard, when they're going to do the seventh inning stretch.
Yeah, he's got the WGN wand.
He's got the WGN everywhere. I mean, that's the thing, is that's the real shame of it, because you're talking about like complete and total Chicago Cubs history. This is the reason why a lot of fans across the country fell in love with the Cubs and fell in love with the Braves, because you got the TBS Superstation.
Right.
Those are the two squads that were shown all across the country
for free. And that's the thing. And that's where I was trying to get with this, is that now there's no free baseball. And a sport that's struggling to get viewership, to get engagement, you're going to charge everybody? Your demographic is in their 40s. 40s, 50s, 60s.
Yeah.
Easily. I know I'm almost there to the 40, but come on. If you don't put that in front of kids like we were, and I understand, we're old man on his couch, but you've got to have something where kids can watch something. It's free. It's available. It's going to help your sport. And I hate that the White Sox are only on NBC Sports and the Cubs are only going to be on a Marquee network. But the Marquee network is not on Comcast.
But at least you can see because you have at least you can see the Sox. You got the Sox, Bulls, and Hawks all on
exclusively.
Unless
it's a nationally televised game with ESPN or something.
You know what they do with that is like
simulcast.
Well, no, with that first Cubs game.
Yes,
that's going to be on ESPN. Is blacked out in Chicago.
Yes, it is. It is blacked out.
It's blacked out in Chicago.
Yep.
So we can't even see that game on the package that we already have. Okay. You're going to tell me that I've been sitting here through COVID, keeping my space, wearing my Cubs mask, okay, making sure that I'm healthy so y'all can stay healthy, and you can't even give me the team that is probably my favorite team aside from the Bears. I mean, that's the first love. But,
everybody's first team is the Bears. Let's just be honest.
Your second team is typically going to be your baseball team in this city.
Yes,
so
sir.
You're telling me that after all these years of loyalty, of loving that team, of sticking up for Sammy Sosa through the cork bat and the steroids and the skin bleaching and all this stuff, that I can't see my team?
Nope.
Like I said, guess what I'm going to be watching?
White Sox baseball. And you know what? And I get your point with the Hawk thing. He was getting a little annoying. Like, I'd be watching the games and I'm listening to Steve Stone because I can listen to Steve Stone all day because he's so smart.
Oh, yeah.
And he's teaching you as well as giving you baseball as far as like what's going on in the field, but he's also teaching you different things. Hawk, at some point, I was like, stop telling stories about the 50s and 60s. No one really cares. No one cares about you being in Boston.
No. That was the thing, is that he stopped being an announcer.
He stopped being relevant.
He stopped being an announcer, and he was just sitting there, and he was a homer. Now, here's the difference, is that I'll tell you that Ron Santo was one of the other reasons that I became such a huge Cubs fan. Okay, when Ron Santo passed away, I remember I was getting ready to go to physical therapy. I pulled over in the parking lot, and I sat there for a good 10, 15 minutes trying to gather my thoughts, trying to gather myself to get out of the vehicle. I was late to an appointment, and I'm just like, I can't believe it. It felt like a family member had passed away. Well, and that's just how I felt about Ron Santo.
How many years did you listen to him on the radio?
But he was also on the radio. It's a big difference, because on the here's the thing, with the radio you get the hardcore, the diehard, those are the fans that listen to on the radio, because when you get in your car and you turn on the radio, typically it's not whatever station that the game's going to be on. You're listening to music. You got kids in the car. They're not trying to hear all this mess. The people that are watching on TV are more casual fans. They saw it in a bar, so on and so forth. They always like, what's going on with the Sox? I think they won yesterday. I was at the bar. Your diehards are the radio guys. So if he was on the radio, he might have done better. But I mean, like, I don't know, man. I'll tell you what. Jason Benetti, though, he's a star. He's going to be a star. Now, I mean, he's got a face for radio, but he's going to be a star.
But he brought in a fresh, different atmosphere. Just different things that are going on. Like, he's doing he does the trivia questions and the Ask Steve, and all, he comes up with different segments that engages the fans.
Correct.
So that's a big difference from before. Like, I'm going to talk old school baseball, and you don't do this, and you don't do that.
Right.
The unspoken rules.
Unwritten rules in the
Like,
can of corn.
no.
Yeah.
No, we're throwing bats now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We're flipping bats.
Yep.
We're hitting home runs. Let people be engaged. Let people be excited. That's what people want. That's why people gravitate towards football, because it's nonstop action. People gravitate towards hockey because you're playing 20 minutes straight of all action.
Nonstop action.
Nonstop action. NBA. On nonstop action until like the fourth quarter in the last 4 or 5 minutes. Then it's timeouts and fouls and all this stuff. And, that last 4 minutes is like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
But if you want people to be engaged, put it out there for people to see.
Correct.
I'm pissed that you can't see the opening day.
Oh, it's absolutely ridiculous. It makes no sense at all. They, like I said, I mean, I've been preaching this whole show. They better put the Cubs on TV where I can see, because I have a sports package specifically. When I got the sports package in 2015, I got it specifically to make sure that I got the TBS and I think it was TBS and TNT.
Yes, sir.
Because that's when they were playing the first round of the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I called up Comcast. I'm like, look, I don't really use the Comcast, but guess what? I need to get a package that has TBS at least. It's only like the second tier package. Mm-hmm. I says, I need this channel at least because I'm trying to watch the Cubs in the playoffs. I cannot miss the Cubs in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And she goes, oh, well, would you like the sports package? And I said, hell yeah, I want the sports package. So every Sunday, I sit there and watch the Bears on one TV, and the other TV that's right next to it, I put on the Red Zone so I can watch both. That's why everyone comes over and watches the ball. But guess what? That's the only reason I have Comcast at all on my TV.
I cut the cord, and, I was happy to cut the cord because, there was no sports going on. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have to spend that money. But I'm probably going to switch over to the Hulu Live. Yeah. And, because it's going to offer me those channels. But just like you said, like, I want to watch multiple things. Mm-hmm. Think about when there's March Madness. They're on like 6 different channels. And if you don't have that sports package, you can't watch your team or you can't watch the tournament.
And it's all the CBS channels. You get the CBS. It was like
CBS, TNT,
True TV.
Yeah, True TV, yeah.
And like, yeah, when you had some of the more exotic teams, they put them on like National Geographic Channel. You know what I mean? Like the ones that had like weird, like exotic animal names were like, I know the channel for you, sir. But yeah, I mean, wrapping up the whole COVID thing, this has definitely been putting a toll on people who use sports as an escape.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And now when you're talking about what they call COVID fatigue, people getting tired of wearing a mask and doing this and doing that. I want to go to the beach. The beach
That's
don't
BS.
want you.
You know what?
Stay away from the beach. The beach don't want you.
Because my doctor had to wear a mask for my surgeries. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he wore a mask for your surgery.
Sure did.
Did you ask him if he was comfortable with that mask?
He survived. I mean, so the thing is that, we're trying to make it to the other side, but we're looking at 3 sports who are getting ready to start right now. We're looking at basketball, we're looking at hockey, and we're looking at baseball. And we're just hoping that we can get to the end of the seasons.
Will they all make it to the finish line?
That's the question. That's the real question. Because, like I said, hockey and basketball are trying to finish up the season they already had.
Right.
And what they're going to do is they're going to finish up their season,
and delay the next
season. Do a draft, and then like turn around in like a month and start their new season. That's going to be wild.
Well, there was talk about moving the season down starting at Christmas.
Well, that's what NBA really wants.
Well, yeah.
That's what NBA really wants. Because if you remember when the NBA was on strike a few years ago and the Bulls still had Derrick Rose, the first game of the season was the Bulls, and I think they played the Cavs. The Heat.
Oh, the Heat. Yeah, it was LeBron. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was the Bulls and Heat on Christmas Day, and I remember because I was in Florida, and I'm the only one there. Like, yo, we need to watch basketball. Everyone's like, what are you talking about?
Well, Florida.
And Florida's. Oh, brother, my dad lives down there, and that place is wild. But yeah, man, the hope is, I realistically, I think the hope is that if we get 2 out of 3 completed seasons,
I'm happy.
And I think right now we're looking at NFL, and they better be taking notes and seeing what things work and what don't. Because the fact of the matter is that aside from hockey, you do have basketball. You do have basketball where there's a lot of contact. But I mean, football, you're talking about dog piles. You're talking about dog piles and rubbing and grabbing and tugging and tackles and this and that.
And then you're on the sideline. You're next to all your teammates.
Yep. And you're talking about a much bigger operation than basketball.
And you're running all the time, and you're pushing all the time. And guess what? You're huffing and puffing.
Yep, all the time. Now they did come out with the NFL there was a early prototype that we kind of saw was just probably something that was fan made that kind of looked like a Star Wars fighter pilot helmet, which looked actually kind of badass.
Yeah, it looked pretty cool.
And it was cool, but. I think it was Russell or somebody came out with this mask that it looks like a clear shield that will go all the way down your face.
Okay.
But it did have holes in it. And, I mean,
that defeats the purpose, though.
It was kind of, I was like, this is a little weird. Like, you could go back to the Star Wars helmet. That'd be way better than what this junk is. So, I mean, I think they are going to have some certain things in place to kind of help prevent the spread. But, again, you do have to have guys be diligent about what they're doing. Take the precautions. I don't know how they're going to distance themselves sitting on the bench. But, look, you got to do what you got to do. And if the idea is that as a sports fan, you can't wait for sports to come back, the best thing that you can do is take all the preventative measures yourself. Put on your mask, use your hand sanitizers, wash your hands, don't share drinks, stop going to the damn beach. Okay, because
Indiana just shut down. They shut down the beaches because everybody was coming from everywhere to go to the beaches.
Nothing in that whole state makes sense. But if you're taking the proper precautions, then you're doing your small part to help prevent the spread. And
if everybody does the same thing, we would be doing a lot better.
Right. And then the thing is that the more you do to help prevent the spread, the more you're doing to actually help your sport continue to play.
Correct.
That's just what it is. So, I mean, hey, if you love sports the way we do, just do your part.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, E?
So, we know our boy Serge likes to do our Stirring the Pot segment,
yes, he
right?
does.
So let's do something here real quick.
All right.
I'm going to throw you a question, and I want your honest answer.
Sure.
Tacos or burritos?
Ooh, depends from where.
Say the right answer.
But I'm always going to go for a burrito.
Oh, man, come on.
Always going to go for a burrito. Always.
Come on. First of all,
you get more meat.
No, burrito is one thing.
Yes.
You can get the same one burrito for the price of 3 tacos, and I can have 3 different types of tacos.
That's what I said. Depends from where.
Oh, man, that's terrible.
All right, we're going to close this episode out, and we're going to go have some tacos because he's about to buy me some tacos.
Right now. All right, y'all. We want to give a shout out to our boys, Mike, Logic, and Ideal, and their All Net podcast. We want to give a shout out to our producer, Jay Soto, and for Big Z, I am E-Rock. We just wanted to say thank you, everyone. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor. Wherever you can think of on the internet, that's where we will be. So go ahead and check us out. True Chicago sports fans everywhere. Y'all be good to each other for the love of sports.
All right, everybody, that wraps it up for this episode. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Anchor and citysportsmask.com. Visit citysportsmask.com and enter discount code TCSF to receive 10% off your order.
A man. That's a full-grown man right there, okay?